Yes, introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Token XYZ. I have graduated from Chanakya National University, Patna, and thereafter I have completed my master's degree from Renaissance Law College, Indore, and right now I'm preparing for Judicial Services examination.
Okay, so in which year you completed your LLM?
Ma'am, I've completed my LLM in 2021.
Okay, so from last 3 years you are preparing for judicial services. It's your first interview?
Yes, ma'am, it's my first interview.
Okay, so what's your favorite subject?
Ma'am, I love to read all the subjects, but my favorite one is evidence and constitutional law.
Both. Okay, you did your LLM in constitutional law, na?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What was your dissertation topic?
Ma'am, the topic of my dissertation was transgenders' rights to equality.
On gender's right to equality. So with what topic you did your dissertation? That is the common topic, but
Ma'am,
in that topic, yes.
it was specifically with respect to transgenders' rights, whether they are given equal treatment or not.
Okay, so tell me whether transgenders have right to marry if they are of same sex.
No, ma'am, they do not have the right to marry. In the recent case of Suprio versus Union of India, it has been held that if they are of the same sex, then they are not allowed to marry.
What do you think? They should be allowed or not? I think there is no discrimination in under Hindu Marriage Act, or
Yes,
is there any discrimination under Hindu Marriage Act?
ma'am, with respect to the gender that is given under Hindu Marriage Act, it is with reference to male and female only. There is no any other third gender that is specifically with respect to the transgenders that has been mentioned. Transgenders has been mentioned only in a case of Nalsa judgment where the Supreme Court has recognized that there is a third gender apart from the male or a female that whose right should be recognized, and every person has their right to self identity, and it is not necessary that the person should only be a male or a female. A transgender can also be considered in this case.
Okay, what was your hypothesis?
Ma'am, the hypothesis of my research was whether the transgender should be given equal treatment or not.
And what you researched?
Ma'am, as per my knowledge, the recent act that has been passed related to transgender persons' right to equality, protection of their rights, 2019 Act, they are legally recognized, but still there are some of the loopholes that needs to be considered. For example, the definition that is given with respect to transgenders does not come under the full spectrum. The narrow definition has been given, even though are legally recognized. Secondly, the act says that there should be no discrimination or violence should be given to them, but still we can see there is violence is there because there is a lack of strict punishment. Apart from it, they have to undergo to obtain a certificate from the district magistrate in order to say themselves that they are transgenders. So these are some of the criticisms that we can see. There is lack of implementation process. Welfare scheme that is given under social security is not properly implemented. They're not represented into the any cultural programs, so that these things can be normalized. So I feel these are some of the loopholes that are still existing in our country.
Okay, so what type of mode you have adopted during the research? There are certain modes of research. तो आपने कौन कौन से modes को apply किया?
Ma'am, the first issue was whether are they, if it is just into the books that they are given equal treatment, or in reality they are given equal treatment or not. Secondly, they are just legally recognized, or in reality they are recognized or not. If there is any implementation of welfare schemes, or it is just in the act that has been mentioned. So these were some of the issues that I have gone through.
ये तो आपके इश्यूज हो गए। फिर आपने अपने रिसर्च के लिए जो भी मटेरियल था, जो डाटा था, वो कहाँ से कलेक्ट किया? ये सब रिसर्च आपने किस बेसिस पे किया?
Ma'am, I have read some of the books that were with respect to transgenders. Apart from that, I have researched through the online platforms. I have read certain articles with respect to the transgenders. For example, which was related to the rights that was affected, especially during the COVID times, where the transgenders had to face a lot of hardship in order that their treatment should be taken into consideration. Many of the hospitals denied giving any treatment to them. So even if they are recognized as third genders, they were denied with certain rights, certain fundamental rights, especially violation with Article 14 and 21, which are given to the normal citizens of our country. So this is what I believe in.
ओके, इसके अलावा कोई आपने प्रैक्टिकल सर्वे किया?
With respect to transgenders,
Yes.
ma'am, I think in various areas, for example, in any cultural programs, they are not represented anywhere. So the normal citizens cannot normalize this properly as to what are transgenders and what are certain hardships that they are facing. So if they are being very normalized, they are represented everywhere, or any if there is any discrimination amongst them, then if there is a stricter punishment that can be provided. So I think these issues can be handled in a very tangible manner.
Can you tell the name of first transgender judge?
Sorry, ma'am, right now I'm not able to recall.
पता है आपको there is first transgender female judge?
Um, Ma'am, I'm aware of this, but right now I'm not able to recall the names of him.
Okay, what are your optionals?
Ma'am, my options were Constitution and Administrative Law, Hindu law and Muslim law, and Contract and Torts.
Okay. So, Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act पढ़ा है आपने?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, if the parents of a son or a daughter is alive, then who can give that son or daughter in adoption? What is the rule?
Ma'am, could you please repeat the question?
Yes. If the parents of any son or daughter is alive, then who can give that son or daughter in adoption? What is the rule under HAMA?
Ma'am, it says as per section 9 of the Hindu and Adoption Act, it says that if their natural guardians are present and if they are not of unsound mind and they do not have, or they are not converted, then the natural guardian or the parents will have the right to give an adoption. And if, for example, they are terminally ill, or they have abandoned the child, then section 9 clause 4 says that the guardian of that child can, with the permission of the court, can give in adoption to the other people.
Okay. So tell me, there is a Hindu woman who is not physically fit. She is deaf and dumb woman. She gave birth to a son, and that at that time that woman was under the custody of Women Protection Home. Okay, so the authority cumulatively decided that such child should give in adoption because the woman is not capable enough to take care of that child. For that purpose, they issued a notice, and after considering the notice, one couple approached for the adoption. Now, according to the rule, as you said, they file an application before additional and district judge for taking the permission to give that child in adoption. But there were two technical topics came before the court. That number one, whether the child is Hindu or not, because the paternity of the child was not clear, because the woman is not sufficient enough to disclose it, was not in a capacity to disclose it. Number two, whether during the lifetime of the women that such child may be given in adoption by the authority of Women Protection Home. So tell me, what should be the approach of the court at the time of deciding those two legal issues?
The first case, as you mentioned, lack of paternity is yet to be decided. So if the child is not a Hindu or a Muslim, or a paternity cannot be decided, then Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act says that only a Hindu can be adopted. So this can be taken into consideration by the Juvenile Justice Act, which says that if the object is proper rehabilitation of such children, so in that case, if the legitimacy is not decided yet, then under judicial Juvenile Justice Act, such child can be adopted. And with respect to the second condition that you mentioned, that if the lady is not capable enough to handle that child, then with the permission of the court, such authorities can ask the permission, and the court, if satisfied that it is with respect to the welfare of the child, then such child can be adopted in this case.
So, for example, you are sitting as additional and distinct session judge, and you have to decide that application within the purview of HAMA. Then what you do, whether you will reject that application under HMA or you will allow. Because first point is not clear. First point पर तो आपने कहा that JJ Act will apply. It means you will not allow that adoption in Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act.
Yes, ma'am. If it is not clear that the child is a Hindu or a Muslim, then
So
we can.
if the if the religion is not clear, it means the fact is clear that child is not Muslim, that child is not Christian, that child is not Persian. Okay, if that fact is clear, it means that person shall be presumed as Hindu.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ तो
Yes, ma'am.
क्या करेंगे अब आप?
So, ma'am, if it is clear, then we can take that into consideration, and it can be taken through Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act.
Okay, tell me one question. Is there any difference between adopted son and biological son?
Ma'am, adopted son is a son who is taking somebody else's child and raising as if it is their own. That is adopted son or an adopted child. But in case of biological son, it is with respect to the same parents that child has been given birth. So this is the
Legal
difference.
sense, there is any difference under Hindu Adoption Maintenance Act?
Ma'am, in legal sense, there is no difference that the adopted child will be considered as their own. So in both
What
the
are the
cases,
effects of adoption?
Section 12 talks about of the Hindu Maintenance and Adoption Acts talks about effects of adoption, and it says that once the adoption has been given into effect, then the child cannot go back to their biological parents, and from now on he will be considered that he is the child of the adopted parents. And further, there are some exceptions. First of all, the person, even if adopted, cannot marry the person who comes within the prohibited degrees of their parents of the birth. Then second, he cannot divest any property, and he will have to take care of the dependents of the whatever dependents were there during the parents when he was taken into birth. He will have to maintain the dependents. So this cannot be removed.
What about the rule of inheritance? Whether the line of or the chain of inheritance will change because of the adoption or not?
Yes, ma'am. Once the partition has been effected, then it cannot be changed. And if partition is not affected, then it can be taken into consideration.
Okay. एक चीज मुझे बस और बता दीजिए. As you have said that after adoption, the all the legal relation from the biological family will be stopped or seized, and he will be considered as the son of the adoptive family. What is the object? Why not कि बायोलॉजिकल फैमिली के साथ साथ एडॉप्टिव फैमिली के साथ भी उसके रिलेशन वैसे ही रहे? क्यों ये बायोलॉजिकल फैमिली से रिलेशन क्यों खत्म करना है?
Ma'am, because it may happen that there can be a conflict as to who can be the real son. Either it is with respect to the biological parents or the adopted ones, because it is with respect to the welfare of the child, also the property as to how it has to be decided, especially with respect to maintenance and inheritance. So I think these are the considerations that has to be looked upon, and that is why this bifurcation is given, that once a child is adopted, he has to be taken that he's the real son of that adopted parents.
Okay. What is the object of plea bargaining?
Ma'am, the object of plea bargaining is that there is a guilt taken by the accused in bargain that any smaller or lesser punishment will be given.
What is the object? What is the
Ma'am,
rationale?
object is that whatever crime that he has committed, that will be taken into consideration. At the same time, in bargain, the person will be given lesser punishments for that, so that the crime can be taken into consideration as to what crime he has committed. The first, that will be understood, and secondly, if he has taken the guilt of the, if he has proven guilty, then lesser punishment can be given.
Effect of plea bargaining. It is not the rationale. In which year that chapter was added?
Sorry, ma'am. Right now, I'm not able to recall.
Okay, okay, okay. ठीक है. Is there any difference between English concept of plea bargaining or Indian concept of plea bargaining?
Sorry, ma'am. Plea bargaining concept, I'm not able to recall right now.
Okay, okay, कोई बात नहीं है. What is the object of section 125 CRPC?
Ma'am, the object of section 125 of CRPC is to prevent any vagrancy, starvation, and to provide proper necessities to the person who is in real need of it.
Okay, and who are eligible for maintenance under 125?
Ma'am, a wife is able to get maintenance, children, and parents.
The term wife is mentioned or wives is mentioned?
The wife is, if she's a legally wedded wife, then that has been mentioned.
Are you sure? Wife या wives?
Ma'am, can I take a moment to recall that?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I think it's wife, as I can recall right now.
Okay. ठीक. एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन मुझे बताइए. What is the difference criminal misappropriation of property and criminal breach of trust?
Ma'am, in criminal misappropriation of property, which is given under section 403 of IPC, it says that if a person takes any property and then converts for his own and misappropriates for his own use, it with respect to any movable property, then that is criminal misappropriation of property. And section 405 of the IPC talks about criminal breach of trust, which says that if there is any entrustment of the property with respect to any position of dominion over the other, and if that property is given and subsequently the person misappropriates it for his own use or even disposes to the other person or gives it, then we can say there is criminal breach of trust, and it can be with respect to movable as well as immovable property.
Last question. Stolen property का concept पढ़ा है आपने?
Yes, ma'am.
Whether possession or retention of stolen property is punishable or not?
Yes, ma'am. It is punishable.
Purchasing any property which you know is that property is stolen is punishable?
Yes, ma'am. If the person has a knowledge that this is a stolen property, then he can
आपने
be punished.
सुना है कुछ शहरों में चोर बाजार लगते हैं? सुना है? दिल्ली में रही आप?
Yes, ma'am.
ओके, वहां चोर बाजार के बारे में सुना है?
Yes, ma'am. I have
इट्स
heard of.
पनिशेबल. देन कैसे ये चोर बाजार फिर कैसे लगते हैं? वेदर चोर बाजार इज इलीगल इन इंडिया?
No, ma'am, it's not legal in India, but I think it is with respect to taking of the property and then using it. I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm not able to recall as to how this chor bazaar ka concept is there.
इसको पढ़िए, ठीक है? बाकी वेरी गुड, ऑल द बेस्ट. All the provisions related to women, case laws related to women, specific judgment related to women, इसी चीजों को थोड़ा और फोकस करिए, ठीक है? और सीआरपीसी के ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, लाइक चैप्टर 12 इन्वेस्टिगेशन, चैप्टर 13 चार्ज, ट्रायल, जजमेंट का फॉर्मेट, 164 का फॉर्मेट, 164 में स्टेटमेंट की रिकॉर्डिंग और कन्फेशन की रिकॉर्डिंग में डिफरेंस, इसको सेक्शन 80, 89 एविडेंस के साथ में कनेक्शन, प्ली बार्गेनिंग एक्सेट्रा, इन पे थोड़ा ज्यादा फोकस करिए, ठीक है?
Ma'am, I need to ask some feedback regarding this. Ma'am, whether I was very nervous while I was giving you this.
बिल्कुल नर्वस नहीं है आप. थोड़ा सा था जब क्वेश्चन थोड़ा मैंने प्रॉब्लम बेस दिया, हल्का सा था, बट ये जेन्युइन है. ये बहुत बहुत प्रैक्टिकल चीज है ना. हर बच्चा जो इंटरव्यू देने जा रहा है तो वो थोड़ा बहुत तो नर्वसनेस होगी, लेकिन वो नर्वसनेस.
I am aware of all the things that is there. I'm very confident about it because I know whatever the key ingredients or whatever it is. But the moment I start giving answers, my heart pumps so fast, faster than anything else, that आई थिंक कि इतनी मतलब छोटी सी चीज में अगर इतना पंप हो रहा है, तो अगर वहां मैं रियल इंटरव्यू में जाऊंगी तो क्या
इतना
होगा
ही
वहां?
बम्प होगा, ठीक है, और वो पूरे टाइम नहीं होगा, ठीक है। ये मैं अपने अनुभव से बता रही हूँ। वो शुरुआत के 3 से 4 सवालों में होगा, उसके बाद वो आपको बहुत नॉर्मल कर देंगे, ठीक है, ये
हाँ, तो
थोड़ी
उससे
देर
क्या होता है,
होगा।
जब आप आंसर दे रही हो तो वो क्या होता है ना, स्टैमर और फंबल आप करने लगते हो, तो उससे क्या होता है ना, पर्सनालिटी में डिफरेंस आ जाता है।
इतना नहीं है, इतना नहीं है, ठीक है, जिस पे आपको बहुत परेशान होने की जरूरत है। एकदम ये समय पॉजिटिव रहने का है, ठीक है। अच्छे से रिवीजन करिए, खूब मिरर प्रैक्टिस करिए और खूब मॉक दीजिए, बस
मैम,
यही।
उसमें से एक पर्सनालिटी क्वेश्चन आप एक बार पूछ लो तो।
कौन सा पर्सनैलिटी क्वेश्चन रह गया? वाई यू वांट टू बिकम जज, आपसे नहीं पूछा क्या आज तक?
मैम, आपने नहीं
अब
पूछा
तो
हमसे।
नेक्स्ट में होगा, ठीक है। ये एक मतलब एक रिदम में होता है, कहने से नहीं, वो मैं किसी भी टाइम पूछ लूंगी, इससे पहले वाले स्टूडेंट से पूछा, ठीक है। तो कभी ना कभी किसी मॉक में आपके सामने आ जाएगा। एक फॉर्मेट नहीं है ना, आप तो देख रही हैं मॉक, क्या
यस
किसी
मैम।
से क्वेश्चन का फॉर्मेट है, इससे ऐसा होगा? कुछ
मैम,
नहीं।
इसलिए मैं पूछ रही थी ना कि कभी कभी क्या होता है ना, उस आंसर में जो आपको नहीं देना चाहिए वो आप वहां पे दे दो, वो गलत हो जाएगा। मुझे इससे नहीं है कि अच्छा पढ़ा हुआ है तो देना है, इसलिए मैं दे रही थी क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है अगर उसमें ऐसे कोई भी स्टेटमेंट है जो सामने वाले को इफेक्ट कर सकता है,
बिल्कुल
तो आई आई
बिल्कुल।
वांट टू रिफ्रेन
नयन जी
फ्रॉम
कर
इट।
रहे थे ना ये गलती।
मैम,
मैम
आई
अपने
गेस।
मैंने सीख ली अपनी गलती से।
हाँ, तो ये कभी ना कभी किसी मॉक में आपके सामने डेफिनेटली आ जाएगा। अब आज नहीं आया, नेक्स्ट मॉक में आ जाएगा, ओके। अदरवाइज कोई ऐसा परेशान होने की, इनके अंदर तो बहुत इंप्रूवमेंट आ गया। फर्स्ट डे तो मैं परेशान हो गई थी, मैंने इनको बताया, क्योंकि नॉलेज इतनी अच्छी है ना। ही सच अ नॉलेजेबल पर्सन इन द फील्ड ऑफ लॉ। बट आप अपनी नॉलेज को पॉजिटिवली यूज करिए, वो नेगेटिव नहीं होना चाहिए ना इंटरव्यू में, कि पता चला इतना एक्सेसिव हो जा रही हैं चीजें कि नेगेटिव हो गया, पता चला लॉ ही नहीं पूछा उन्होंने, आपसे बाकी सब पूछते रह गए। वो नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि टाइम आपको वो लिमिटेड है। उन्होंने इतने कैंडिडेट आज कॉल किए हैं, नेक्स्ट डे कितने कैंडिडेट कॉल करने वो डिसाइडेड है, तो वो आपको बहुत ज्यादा 10 मिनट से मैक्सिमम वो आपको 30 मिनट 35 मिनट्स देंगे, इससे ऊपर नहीं देंगे। और उसमें पता चला 35 मिनट्स में मेरा 20 मिनट्स निकल गया पर्सनालिटी पे, कितना वो मुझे चेक कर पाएंगे? उस पर्सनालिटी को मैंने बहुत शार्प नहीं की है इंटरव्यू के लिए, है ना। तो ये चीजों पर थोड़ा ध्यान देना, ठीक है, ऑल द
हम
बेस्ट।
अगर आपको मतलब मेरे को अगर रैंक करना हो तो मुझे और क्या क्या इम्प्रूव करना होगा, अगर इस बेसिस पे अगर मैं जाके दूं, तो आप कितना मुझे वो करोगे कि आपको अच्छा
अभी
इस चीज पर और ज्यादा मेहनत करनी है?
आज तो अभी क्योंकि आपके आंसर्स कुछ आप नहीं भी दे पाए थे, ठीक है। जैसे जैसे आपने, मैंने क्वेश्चन किया था HAME में, ठीक है। तो always try to answer within the purview of that act, because when you are sitting as a judge and you have to consider any technical issue within the purview of that particular act, then you have to decide it only in that act. And apart from that, you can also give direction that along with that act you can also get the remedy under another act, but you have to decide the topic, वो आपको एट दैट टाइम ओनली आपको डिसाइड करना है। तो जैसे वो मैंने इशू पूछा तो आपको उसी टाइम उसको डिसाइड करना है। अभी थोड़ा कंसेप्ट और पढ़िए, क्योंकि हिंदू वाले पॉइंट पर भी ये आप बहुत श्योर नहीं थे, और ये स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन है हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट में और हिंदू अडॉप्शन एंड मेंटेनेंस एक्ट में।
एक्चुअली जब आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा तो मुझे लगा कि आपने ये क्वेश्चन पूछा कि वो पता ही नहीं उस चिल्ड्रन मतलब चाइल्ड के बारे में, तो मुझे लगा कि अगर वो हिंदू नहीं है, ये क्लियर
दैट
है,
इज द
तो फिर।
केस, मैंने जो क्वेश्चन पूछा था ये केस था, और इसमें इशू यही था, व्हेन द पैटर्निटी इज नॉट क्लियर बट द मदर रिलीजन इज क्लियर ना।
यस मैम।
तो ये चीज था, ठीक है। इस पर ध्यान दीजिए थोड़ा, टर्मोलॉजी पर, और जल्दीबाजी नहीं अभी थोड़ा, क्योंकि देखिए फैमिली लॉ, IPC, टॉर्ट, कंट्रैक्ट, प्रोसीजर, ये बहुत ज्यादा पूछे जाते हैं बिहार में। और फैमिली लॉ एक ऐसा टेक्निकल इशू टॉपिक है, मतलब एक ऐसा टेक्निकल लॉ है जिस पर प्रॉब्लम बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस बहुत आते हैं, बहुत अच्छे अच्छे इश्यूज आते हैं कोर्ट के सामने, ठीक है। तो वहां पर आप तुक्का तो बिल्कुल नहीं मार सकते हैं। तो बस कुछ नहीं है, अभी बढ़िया बैठ के कंटेंट को पढ़िए, जजमेंट्स को पढ़िए। जजमेंट को पढ़ेंगे तो नया इशू भी आएगा, देन आप उस पोजीशन में होंगे कि अच्छे से बता दें, ठीक है। ओके, ऑल द बेस्ट, ठीक है।
मैम,
नेक्स्ट।
मैम मेरा एक डाउट था।